seething might be a better word. Well, seething is just when you're mad, mad but trying to hold it in. Have you looked at the new 538 update? Brother, I'm checking 538 every damn day. Polling is the devil, and boy, do I want a tiefling or a Cambrian or something. It's over. We were at 3.7 Harris ahead, and now it's 3.6. It's never been this over. At this rate, at a loss of 0.1 every day, it will be back down to Trump ahead in less than 2 months. It's guaranteed. How about this one? Yeah, we've seen this. Harris wins 58 times out of 100. Trump wins 41 times out of 100. We'll see. We'll see. Would you succubus, though? Everyone would succubus. That's literally their job. It's favored. What I want to know is, why are there so many potential wins that are out here this far in the sticks, with Harris winning, with Harris winning like by a significant majority of the elector count, because this model is bullshit? I mean, yeah, I don't think there's any chance of a 527 to 11. Might as well get the full 50-state sweep at that point. I don't know how I feel about this. Is this meant to be an accurate representation of their distributed weighing of the potential outcomes? Or to put it another way, is the outcome where Harris wins 289 to 249 less, like there were less incidences of that than this one, the 323 to 215? Or is this just like a pretty visual demonstration that doesn't reflect a literal expression of how the dice fell? Yes, that's how it works. It's so dumb. Well, if it's literal, then this is bullshit. There is absolutely no way Harris comes out of this with 389 electoral votes. So why are there so many potential outcomes over here that are D plus 200 or more? There are realistically, there are maybe a dozen, maybe 15 at most potential outcomes for the election. There should be it should be a distribution with like a dozen or maybe 2 dozen, points along the horizontal axis, and everything should fit within that. I mean, like there's a 0.0000001% chance. Yeah, but this is meant to be 1,000 simulations. There is no way that in 1,000 simulations, what is this? 1 out of, I'm going to say 8, maybe 1 out of 8, 1 out of 7 have Harris winning 373 electoral votes or more. No way. There is no way any real simulation that actually reflects reality has a 1 in 7 or 1 in 8 or whatever, so on and so forth, to D plus 200. Click on path to 270. I should mute you, Benjamin, for saying that so many times, but I should click on it. Where is it? Path to 270. Is it right in front of me and I'm missing it? Possible scenarios. Path to 270. There we go. Scroll to see Democratic landslides. DC, Vermont, Massachusetts, Maryland, California, Hawaii, Maine's 1st District, New York. Okay. They're seriously fronting the ideas that there's a linear progression to the state's victories. I don't know if it necessarily means there's a directly linear path. I just don't... Guys, I'm not going to lie. I think all this is bullshit. I think this is all total horseshit. The problem is that the only thing that we're really looking at is battleground states, right? I mean, they've highlighted the states that are of interest. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida... Texas, Arizona, right? And also Nevada, which isn't highlighted. I don't know why that's not highlighted. Are we not highlighting the ones that... Okay. The new map also sucks. I don't know why Nevada isn't highlighted. I don't know why Florida's highlighted. Okay, sure. You know what? Let's take a look at 270 to win. Only some states have the potential to flip. Okay? There are some states here that can potentially flip that are basically guaranteed not to, but could potentially. New Mexico could potentially go red. Is it going to? No, but it's not literally impossible. Ohio and Texas could potentially go blue. Are they going to? No, but they could I mean, it's not literally impossible, right? It's marginally possible, Obviously, you have the battleground states where we know that things are kind of up in the air, you know. The problem is that like if you start like hold on. Let's say we have an unprecedented Harris sweep, okay? Like an unbelievable, like exceeding the greatest expectations possible. Even with that, she only gets 303 to 235. Even there. Okay? Let's be even better. North Carolina. Okay? Even with North Carolina, she wins by 100. Even with this result would be psychotically optimistic. This is like dream day. This is like we spend all of November 5th and 6th like coming in our pants. You know what I mean? This is we spend the entire like all content in between November and January 20th is us doing the like Fortnite L dance on Republicans, you know? And this is only winning by 100 electoral votes. So how in the world are there so many predicted outcomes that have Kamala Harris getting more than 100 votes? It's explained here. I'm not sure if you're understanding how these simulations work. Don't you patronize me, Fortnite. The normal distribution is there should be way more simulation outcomes towards the middle. Like, this should be a big towering peak right here, where all of the most likely outcomes are like a huge tower in the center that's only maybe a dozen points wide and a couple scatterings to the side. So a bell curve, a much sharper bell curve. There being a 1/1000th for 538 for Trump instantly invalidates this model. Yeah, I shouldn't this be a good thing? I think that this bullshit right here, in my personal opinion, I think that this bullshit is being framed as this way to make it more interesting. There's too much variation for only 1,000 simulations. Every one of these dots is meant to represent an outcome in the simulation. 1,000 simulations. It should be like a big tower in the center, and then like beep 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 beep. The fact that there's any shit out here at all, let alone multiple like points out here, is crazy. Vosh, honestly, can you not imagine a world in which you're just misunderstanding what's being stated here? I could ask the same of you. And do you think patronizing me is going to change my mind? This isn't pride. I genuinely think, first of all, it's not pride because we homophobic here, motherfucker. Second of all, this isn't pride. I genuinely think this is bullshit. This is the one thing I actually do have a degree in, damn it. Let me have an opinion without patronizing me. You can disagree, but you don't need to be like, is Vosh even capable of understanding the possibility of him being incorrect? Like I don't hear that all the time, you know? Like I don't hear that about the nutritionist thing, and then people email me and they're like, Vosh, you were so correct about the nutrition thing. I'm going to take a piss, and then we're picking this argument right back up where it stopped. Vosh, you don't have a statistics degree. Half of sociology is statistics. And brother, in those classes, C's did in fact get degrees. As a homosexual, my ability to do the math bits was, you know, let's just say I passed. Okay, let's take a look at the methodology. New presidential election forecast model. You should get Nate Silver to explain this to you. Didn't Nate Silver quit? Doesn't he not work with this anymore? But it's still his model design? No, he was on Twitter saying they changed the model, wasn't he? Wow, I just realized this is super boring. Yeah, I don't believe in it. Yeah, I don't think this is true at all. I think that realistically, like 98% of the outcomes for this election fall within a range of D plus 100 to R plus 50. This is Nate's model. Didn't he say it had changed? Oh, okay. So this is for him, and he's got it at 48.8 to 44.8. Well, Kennedy's still there. I guess maybe it's a bit outdated. I don't really know. Wait, 4% chance of... Oh, no, this is the polling, not chance to win. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. So there's no way he thinks Kennedy has a 4% chance to win. Yeah, get lucky with live streaming, Rudis. Okay, anyway, does everyone understand what I'm saying? I don't... Okay, maybe it's just me being a stupid dum-dum, but I don't think there's any... I think that there is a 99% chance of the results of this election falling within D plus 100 and R plus 50, not like a 1 in 2. You know what I mean? Like, because based on what I'm looking at, the visualized statistical data right here, it would indicate that it's a 1 in 2 of it falling within that range, and other outcomes are further skewed, which, again, keep in mind, this outcome right here is D plus 100. I mean, even if you went hog crazy with it and you handed over, you'd have to hand over Texas and Florida. I agree, but you didn't read the methodology. Yeah, I'm illiterate, and frankly, you're being ableist. Yes, if it were held today, but do you really think there aren't events that could completely change the odds? You, first of all, that wouldn't be accounted for in the model, because then you could say that about anything. Like, then you wouldn't bother making a model at all, because it'd be like, yeah, our model might not reflect the odds at present, but in the future some crazy shit could happen. Well, then why are you making the model now? What point is a model if the data reflected in it accounts for the point of the model is like based on what we know currently, what is the likelihood? Like, if the model is very uncertain for that reason. If a model that is this uncertain is not a useful model. I mean, honestly, I'm not even interested in, like, okay, tell me if I'm wrong on this, right? The real interesting polling data, the real interesting model for the win should be on a state-by-state basis. And then you aggregate that to a total victory. So first of all, like reset map, first of all, we can just ignore half the country here. We can ignore California, Washington, Oregon, Montana, Wyoming, blah, 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 blah. Okay. We're focusing entirely on states for which there's any realistic probability of them switching from what we expect, And if something happens that flips Wyoming, then polling doesn't matter anyway. You know what I mean? Like, if a series of events take place that lead to a red California or a blue Montana, then it doesn't matter anyway. None of it matters anyway. We should just shut polling down forever. Clearly none of this mattered, So whatever. So we have to focus on the areas where there's any possibility, okay? And then you do the pulling out for that, and you try to determine, okay, like if you held the election today, we did 1,000 simulations, what are the odds of it going this way versus this way? And then, with a state election, there's only 2 ways it can go, right? With a state election, for the state electors either go red or blue. So it's Wisconsin. Does Wisconsin go red or does Wisconsin go blue? And then you do that out, and then you aggregate that into a total national model. And that would be the best thing that you could do. The problem is this definitely doesn't do that, because if you have so many potential outcomes that are outside that 100 range, that means you're doing some other shit. You're doing some other shit, personally, I think. I don't know. The middle of the page is a list of outcomes. This one, who's favored to win each state? What are the closest races? What does the path to 270 look like? What do the polls or fundamentals say? What are the fundamentals? Oh, I don't trust the fundamentals at all. I don't trust the fundamentals at all. Whenever a pollster says fundamentals, what they mean is the voice in my head. They mean their gut. I don't trust the fundamentals. Forecast a polling average on election day. How are you going to forecast the polling average on election day? Fundamentals only forecast, full forecast. Okay. I do think it's funny that in this distribution there are some outcomes that they predict might happen where Harris wins the Electoral College but loses the popular vote, as if that could ever happen. I know, Inabasiri, I know that this is probably going to get a little bit more reflective as time goes on. It's just right now it's frustratingly Yeah, maybe it's just the fact that things are so variable here. You know what I mean? Like, you can see here on a state-by-state basis, we look at Illinois, and for Illinois, do you see, okay, I can't show it with the mouse, but right up here, do you see how when we highlight Illinois, there's a range within the 95 percentile outcomes where Illinois goes red? And it's like, no, it's not. That's not happening. No wonder you have so many wacky outcomes. Your 95 percentile range for every state is really, really wide, you know? Isn't it contradictory to say that polling means nothing, but then when the forecast is super uncertain, you say it's garbage too? Well, no, polling is useful in methodology and in average and in change over time. But also any individual poll is devilish, especially if it disagrees with what you want to see. This I don't like because there's too much perceived like variability, you know what I mean? Like the fact that a 95 percentile range would include Illinois going red is kind of crazy. Things with a low probability still happen if you try enough times. Yeah, but this is the 95th percentile, not 99.95 percentile, right? This the implication of this is that 1 in 20 times this election Illinois goes red, which is like, no, that's not true. That's just not true. Yeah, the trend is what's most useful, like change over time. Like look at Texas here. If you like look at that, if you look at this, it would look as though within the 95th percentile, there's a significant outcome of Texas going blue, but we know that's not the case. But even then, the 95th percentile is a normal distribution within the black box. So it's like, I don't know. I think there's just too much variance for this to be useful. That's vote share, not chance of victory. Yeah, but I know that, but the black box includes the standard, yeah, the percentile of outcomes within the range. You see the black box, it includes the Democrats winning. Is this P hacking? I'm smart enough to repeat terms I've heard before. No. No, P hacking is different. P hacking is when you have a wide range of variables and you're searching for statistical significance for one of them, usually like 95th percentile. So you're basically like you're testing for a wide enough range of variables that eventually just through circumstance or through luck you end up finding a peak, like a correlative ratio that's significant, even though the data isn't significantly correlated because you were, yeah, it's like being gay. P hacking is what I do to get back to the seat real quick, you know, so fewer viewers leave. In statistical terms, what you're arguing is that 538 should have more strict priors. They should take into account more previous info, which would constrain the model better. Yeah, certainly, but I think it might go even beyond that. There might be like a broader methodology. But no, yeah, that's probably the larger issue. Yeah. Blexit? You mean Blexus? There it is, soaked on left. We could get Blexus, though. Thank you, Eric Wilson. Not today, though. 2016 really broke pollsters a bit, I think, and they can't commit to anything anymore. I mean, I have always said that I think that I really do think that polling is of limited use if you are interested in politics, unless you are willing to dig into it and do the whole like methodological analysis, or if you're willing to look at trends over time, you know, take a longitudinal approach to it. I think the problem ultimately is just that, because again, we talked about this before in the context of like all the polling for like how conservative young men are, and it turns out a lot of polls that are done these days are literally just opt-in online polls, or they called landlines or some other antiquated bullshit they don't properly control for all the variables that might influence a bias in the respondents. Oftentimes you just can't trust this polling. I mean, Pew Research does good polling. We know they do good polling, but the further out you go from that heavenly ideal of good pollster work, the farther you get from truth. And it seems like people just be saying shit, you know?